Do you want to say something, or do you want to just like interview?
I can do both.
Do something.
Is it recording?
Yeah.
Do something?
Yeah. Try to project a little bit. So
Project. Like, I want to be a dancer?
You can even get close. It doesn't matter. It's still like, yeah, you're still full frame.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought I was fat. The Chief Sumo, what, 500 pounds?
You should like walk in like that. I'm Chief Sumo.
Neville loves himself. Oh, that's why they're writing. I don't know if the audience knows, but there's subliminal messages. If you take the first letter of each sentence, it says Neville owns you. It's creepy. It's really creepy. Kind of weirds me out. Let's talk about copywriting for a bit, because I'm a horrible writer. And until I met Neville, I really didn't consider it as an important part of business. Actually, 37 Signals, which a lot of people know about. I went to their design webinar. And at the design webinar, it's 37 Signals. We're all like, oh, what are the secrets? Teach us how to make all the money you guys are making and live like such awesome lives, and be from Sweden or whatever it is. And what they said was like, we don't even do design. We're writers. And that actually blew my mind, where they said before we even build any page or mock-ups or specs, we actually write out the copy for the page and then build the page around that. And I found that really interesting. They said, the communication to a person is really the most important thing of a website. If they can't understand it, they can't use it. And so that kind of sparked my interest. And then I met Neville, who started talking about a lot of things with copywriting and the power that you can do with it. There's Gary Halberd, Ogilvy. I'm trying to think of the other one. Ogilvy, Joe Sugarman, all these guys that just have amazing skills in copywriting, and they start reading it and absorbing it, and you see like the change. And so in our business, I basically wouldn't even send out our emails at appsumo.com because I didn't want to write an email. I just was lazy, or it's kind of intimidating emailing a few 100,000 people, and if you make a mistake, then they all see it. And so as we started going, Neville's like, let me just write out your emails. And what I noticed was that we actually saw a significant increase in the click-through rates and in the actual purchases on one deal. What was it? It was Kourse. Yeah, thank you. It was the Kourse font deal, where the deal was like, if I were to tell you about it, I'd say, oh, they're fonts, and I'm not a designer, but I can definitely understand designers like that stuff, and if you want it, you should probably buy it. And that's literally what it would have said before. And Neville came out and wrote, I don't know what they're called in classical music, but like a serenata or something. Like, I don't know what the hell you call them, but like a really fancy masterpiece of words that was just, I think as an audience member or as like a reader of it, you really understand, and it really makes a big difference in how you feel about purchasing or deciding about that product versus just like, go buy this and it's fonts. It's understanding like the emotional aspect and the connection to a person where they can see value about what you're actually doing. And we even had something recently, we've been working with Neville for a while, and there's two things recently that happened that kind of reminded me of it. And one was, we're doing some advertising, and I changed the copy from just kind of standard boring copy that I've been using to something that Neville wrote previously. And I mean, it's hard to think. It's like you don't know what to expect. And we actually saw a 300% increase in the click-through rate. It actually held from the clicks to the sign-ups on AppSumo from just a copy change. And so a lot of people are working on bigger boxes, different websites, different type of product, when a lot of it is just that kind of communication. And the second thing was, and Neville said this to me, and you read in the writing, I think sometimes he goes a little too far, but what I do realize is it actually connects with people. For all the people that come and say, hey, I think he's gone too far, and sometimes he does, I think, virginity stuff, but at the same time it elicits a response, and people are actually reading these emails versus some cheesy stuff or fluffy bureaucratic pieces. So for me, I think for the course and for people trying to start their own business, writing is almost the most essential thing. Think about introduction emails, product when you're trying to sell something, or when you're trying to communicate to people. Having really effective writing is, I don't want to say it, well, I'll say it, but I'd almost say is one of the most important things in business to have is very effective communication. And so I highly recommend anything Neville puts out. Do we have to tongue?
Yeah. All right. Now I'm here, Neville, with. Whoa!
This is like the fat sumo. I'm the chief, but this is the fat sumo.
This is the real sumo right here. He's not as fat as you think, unless you see him with his shirt off. It's gross.
It's pretty disgusting.
But let me ask you something. Like, whenever I first started writing some of these emails, we took some of the, it was almost like the crappier kind of deals, like the ones we didn't think would sell well. Yeah. And then we were all, shocked at how well they worked sometimes. It was unbelievable. And what was the only change? It was literally just Come on, say it. I don't want to say it.
Okay, first off, we never put out crappy deals. They're definitely deals that we would not buy.
No, deals that were just not as widespread.
Totally
yeah, exactly.
agree. I'm sorry, I don't want to say it. No, so yeah, it was a huge change from just the copy. I think what it is that the copy we were selling was just more of like fluffy pieces, general information. It wasn't a story, and people buy on that emotion aspect. A lot of people, they want to buy on like the rational part, but that really doesn't happen with a lot of purchasing. So the copy connects with a lot of people, and I think that's what motivates them to try out and buy a lot of the Upsumo products.
Now, another thing I want to write is there's someone else in the company that would write some copy.
Yes.
And they would kind of copy like the sumo style copy, which anyone can do when I'm teaching this course. But theirs was never quite as effective. And it's because of one reason. I want you to just back this up on me. A lot of people don't believe this, but it's education. If you teach them how to do something cool with that product, they're more likely to buy it. Like, I wasn't selling that Kourse font deal, saying, here's some fonts, there you go, designers, be happy. I was saying, this is what you can do with it. This is how you can wow your clients. And I would literally give them like a step-by-step roadmap of like education they could use.
But one thing you got me thinking about with what you're talking about is, what are the results someone can have from taking a course? Because taking a course, and I think a lot of people like education because they want to help, but what are the results and the outcomes of things they can do with it? Like, what do you think are the big things?
So one, right away, my favorite are emails. And people write emails to their family. The cold calls, salespeople, they write a lot more emails. Not everyone just has a list of emails that they send to. So even if you're just like a salesperson that's sending out to 10 clients a day, that prospective clients, if you word that email correct, it makes a huge difference. Adam, one of our mutual friends, I actually did a live thing on the course about his email, and he used to send out this stupid email to reporters. I always told him it was complete crap. I redid it. Out of 30 emails, he's getting 19 responses now.
Do you know what he's getting before?
None. Hey, you know what his only responses that he would get before? No thanks. Stop emailing me.
He's really persistent. Adam is really persistent.
Yeah, but like, he wouldn't get any like real requests. And now he's forming relationships and stuff. And the email I wrote for him is not even about his company. It has nothing to do with it.
What's the difference?
It's all about the reporter and like how he can help them and what he can offer them. So they're like, oh man, this guy's kind of like, a bullet in my arsenal. I can use him whenever I need to talk about fitness, health, anything like that. Whereas before, he's just like, I have a company and I started in 2007 and blah, blah. No one cares. No one cares. Especially reporters get barraged all the time. And the only difference in that conversion and response was what he was writing. So it's pretty crazy.
So 2 other questions. I know you're supposed to be asking me questions. What are other uses? And then a follow-up question. I'll just do it now because I'll forget it. How much are you asking for the course? Like, what's the retail full price that you would ask?
It's like under $100.
Okay, but it's still $100, right?
On AppSumo, not outside of AppSumo.
Well, how much is it outside of AppSumo?
Like 200 something.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if it's even $100, like what's better? So this is question number 2. I want to go back to the use cases, but why can't I just go to the Barnes & Noble and pick up some book about copywriting and that's good enough? Let's answer that question secondly. But the first question is, why don't we finish a few more use cases of like, what are the benefits? Like, so if I write emails, what else? I guess product pages. So if you're selling a product.
Well, any web page, any audio recording you do, any video recording you do, it all starts with like a script. And if you lead people blindly through a video, they don't get it. If you follow the ADA formula, which I show you inside, and follow that step, it's anything, a movie, audio, podcasts, emails, they all follow that same formula. It's just been tested over and over and over again. I hate that it works so well sometimes. Like, I want to be creative and think that I can create something new, but it never works as well as that stupid ADA formula and like the right uses of it.
The Neville formula.
And so whenever I make videos, I also follow that format for whenever I'm trying to sell something. So on my own business where we sell products, we actually follow that formula for videos. We actually follow that formula for the copy and everything. And it always works better when you follow that formula. It's crazy. It impacts like every part of your life. Since I started doing the copywriting stuff, my speech has become different, my mannerisms, a lot of stuff has become different, I'd say. So
For the better?
I don't know about that.
Okay.
I know a couple of people who don't like it.
No, I mean, so that's actually another, that's been a really interesting point where, like, one thing I have a hard time with is getting some negative feedback. So I know it elicits a lot of positive responses, but sometimes when you're more, I think, clear in communication and not fluffy, and you push some of the limits, like, you get good responses, but I don't know there's not an exact question. I think that's part of the the positives and the negatives that come with being an effective writer.
Absolutely. And remember, for a while we were actually censoring the emails for spam and all that, and changing the jokes to where they weren't so offensive to a large audience. For about a month, I don't think we got any complaints about the email, and it drove me insane. Because if you're not pissing at least a small fraction of the people off, you're probably doing something wrong. And I'm not trying to piss people off just because. It's just some people are offended by a certain degree of edge jokes. And notice that whenever we sent out some of those first emails, the long form emails that were in like the total marketing style, highest sales, also highest negative feedback rates, right? And I've noticed in a lot of the writing I do, especially with clients, I'll write something for them and they're like, look, Neville, there's no way we can send this out. We just cannot say this kind of stuff. And I'm like, look, send it out to 10% of the people and just tell me what happened. Exactly. You know, if it pisses people off, they really don't like it, fine, go ahead. You know what happens every time? It pisses people off, but then here's why they keep doing it. The sales like come like pouring in, and they get so much positive feedback also. They're just like, this is hilarious, blah, blah, blah. It actually connects. It's treating people like adults, not like, you know, little children that have to censor it.
Exactly. Well, I think one of the things I've realized too is that it resonates with the audience that will be purchasing versus, like, there's people who are going to buy no matter what. There's people on the fence, there's people that are just haters. The haters one are the ones who are complaining because they're just going to be haters. I think what you've done a good job is the middle pack of the group that we've struggled with, which is like, all right, I kind of like it, I don't know if I should do it, and educating them about what it is, if they, you know, why they want it.
Yeah. Well, there's a like this Howard Stern effect that I always talk about. You know, I love Howard Stern, and it's like the people who listen to Howard Stern on average listen for like an hour and a half. The people who hate Howard Stern listen for like an average of 3 hours. It's like double the time, but they hate him. Which it almost doesn't make sense, but it's like what people do and what they say is very different. They may hate Howard Stern. Doesn't mean they don't listen to him. And every time you get like, you generate a little bit of like, oh, you said a kind of like a chauvinist joke. I'm never going to read your emails anymore. I somehow guarantee you that person will continue to read your emails, will continue to buy, and probably read your emails closer than anyone else. That's my experience in the past.
I think that one of the things that I've realized from working with you is that if you want to be like everyone else and be average, then don't take this course.
Absolutely.
If you, and I think one thing that you haven't said, but I don't think your writing is just to piss people off. I actually don't think that's your intention ever. You know what? We've talked about this a fair amount. Ultimately, what your writing is supposed to accomplish is a goal, and the goal is sales for you and for the business, right? And so I feel like that is what you do. You don't just go out and be like, I hate Jews. I'm Jewish, so I can say that. You know,
can I say it?
You can say Zoroastrians. Actually, saw an article on Zoroastrians. They're writing about you.
Well, there you go.
And so that is something, a point for me, where like you said it, and you know, a lot of the people that you've learned from and the experts, you said it's about sales. It's not to get them to open. You know, opening and reading is all that great, but what you're really trying to teach people, and you've taught me a lot of, is just like, what are you trying to accomplish, and how do we make that as effective as possible? So let's come back to that other question. I can go to the store, I can buy Gary Halbert, I can go get the Ogilvy book. So why would I want to just take your course instead of just go and do that and spend $20 versus something like yours, which is normally going to be $200?
I talk about this in one of the sales videos inside the course. I curate all this information that I go to. So, you know, I've met Joe Sugarman, I've met Joe Polish, I haven't met Gary Halbert because he's dead. I've met all the great guys. I have pictures of them and all that kind of stuff. I've read every book. I've taken every course. I've actually done all this stuff for my own business. So it's not like I've just done contract work. I've done this stuff for my own business. I've done this stuff for contract for other people's business, different industries. And so I have the experience to know that you can go spend all this time reading all those, and I actually highly encourage you to do that. But I'm taking everything that I've learned, the most important stuff, and distilling it and curating it into one little package. And this course does not take that long to go through. And I purposely, you know me, I like books that are thin, usually because it generally does not take that long to explain something. And so I explain this in a very quick course, and I don't add a bunch of fluff just to like add weight onto it like a publisher does with a book. I don't do that. So whenever people watch this, they're going to get just the straight up, here's what you need to do, here's the mentality you have to think about whenever you're starting to write, and here's the way to do it. And I'm almost not even giving other options for people. I'm saying like this is the way to do it, because believe me, I've tried all the different ways, because like I love Photoshop, I love designing stuff, I like being creative, like I like trying to like be funny and record these little snippets and blah blah blah, and it just doesn't work. Like the simpler the better, the more clear, concise and simple it is, like that's how it works. And so whenever I show people like how to write an email, I say use this 500px with template, use size 12 Arial font. That's because in the past I've done it. I've done the tests, and like that's what sells. Like that's just what sells. And so whenever people go through all this other information, they get muddled up with different authors and things like that. Whereas I take that, see what's successful, and combine it and just put it all in this one course.
So if someone wants to go out and try to spend all the time doing it, that's fine, and they can if they want to waste weeks or months or however long it's going to take. But what you've done is just package what's been actually most effective from everything and doing the work with AppSumo and your other emails that you send out.
Yeah, but this is judged by real numbers, by like real dollars.
I know. I mean, you've changed our business. Like I'm actually worried about losing Neville. So for a while, I didn't want anyone to know who it was. People were like, Noah, you have the best written emails. Good job writing it. I'm like, it's all me. I'm like, Neville. And so we didn't want to introduce Neville to other people. And what we had him do for our own business after he's written his emails is we actually had him write out a custom solution for us for if Neville ever gets into a car wreck, knock on wood.
Hey, that's metal. What the hell?
Yeah, knock on metal. But what we had him do is actually write out a custom solution so that we can maintain his consistency and his effective writing style if we ever had to bring on another copywriter.
Sumo speak.
Sumoling, dude. People email us now. They're like, I'm a Sumoling, which is one of Neville's branded
And
words.
you know what? People like on Facebook, at first we were like, oh my god, we're telling fat jokes and stuff. People love it. People tell fat jokes and stuff all the time. Whenever they email me, they're all like, hey, fat ass sumo, blah, blah, blah. Like, they love it. And there's always these small complaints that make everyone think like, oh, we shouldn't do this anymore. It's stupid.
Stupid.
You should not listen to the 1% of people.
Totally. I mean, there's a Derek Sivers article. Have you seen that Derek Sivers post?
Absolutely.
It was like, it's called Signs or something like that, where basically like after 1% does something wrong, you ruin it for the rest of the 99%.
Yeah. And usually it's kind of like in a crowd of people like politics. It kind of reminds you of politics. How like there's just like 1 or 2% of people that are like just rabid like politics fans, and they're also usually like fucking crazy. Like I don't know how else to describe it. They're just like insane. And those are the people that are usually the most vocal. So you tend to get a lot of emails like anytime we say like he screamed like woman on the emails or something, we always get like a bunch of people emailing us, and it's kind of like you almost have to just like kind of overlook that or accept that that is a little bit edgy and move on.
So you just got me worried. What happens when everyone starts copying your writing style? What happens if everyone learns the Neville style? Is it do you show people how to do it in their own voice, or is it just like everyone comes to that?
I write in a certain way. Not everyone writes like me. Not everyone has my personality. What I'm trying to tell people is talk more casually like you talk. Let your personality show through. Not everyone talks like Howard Stern. Rush Limbaugh is very different than Howard Stern, and this other NPR is a very different style than Howard Stern, yet still successful. But they relate to people on a certain level. So I want to show people how to write a little more casual and not start typing an email and start talking like a boring square like you don't talk. I mean, it's okay to use some bad grammar sometimes. It's okay to use some bad spelling if you're just sending a personal communication, and it works a lot better. It keeps people engaged.
But what if you're a professional company? What if you're like a serious company?
Oh, I go over that too. A lot of companies think that, oh, we can't write like that. We can't say what you're gonna do instead of what are you going to do. I teach people how to communicate more effectively, okay? Communicating more effectively is the point. So a lot of companies, like financial firms that I've done contract work for, they don't necessarily want all the spelling mistakes and everything. Side note, whenever they do have spelling mistakes, conversions have gone up. I've done it before in the past. They're always surprised. But if they don't want, because they have a boss or whatever like that, that's just like, look, you cannot have bad grammar, bad spelling, this course at least teaches you how to effectively communicate with people just a lot better. How to explain like a bank savings account to someone in a much better way than, say, a bank does it. Like, let's give an example. If I remember the AppSumo thing. AppSumo is people write these stupid mission statements. AppSumo is a company that's dedicated to improving its users' lives and by delivering deals to blah blah blah. And it's just like, that's not how you talk. And I remember in the intro video to this, I said, this fat ass sumo sends you one email deal a day. Like, I mean, it's funny, it's engaging. You're almost like, what? You said ass? It's just fun. Like, that's much more effective at communicating.
Yeah, I mean, for at least, I don't know if you have other questions, but in closing, for me, not closing, but in the beginning or something, we've worked with Neville for quite a while, and the results have been there. And so his previous deal on AppSumo about showing how he created his own business, houseofrave.com, and how we did the drop shipping and how we did the behind scenes was one of our top 3 bestsellers ever. And we've been doing this, I think, in terms of the...
I was going to say it. Thank you for saying it for me.
Exactly. I mean, out of... I don't know if we're at the thousands yet, but we're definitely in the 300 to 500 plus number of deals we've done. And you are one of the best ones ever that we've ever had. And we've had great responses from that in terms of the people that learned and the amount of, I think, just quality and effort that you put in your products. Like, I think sometimes you come off a little crazy. Maybe not crazy, but you come off, yeah, maybe it's crazy.
I'm wearing glasses that aren't prescription right now.
No, but you know what it is like, I've worked with you for a while, and you put in the dedication, you put in the time, and you put out stuff that, you know, like, I'm proud of. That's why I always work with you, and I always like talking about you. And so it's exciting for me to come share my story with other people and then put you back on AppSumo as much as we can.
So I was going to mention the product I did before being one of the best sellers, just to brag, 1. 2, to show that I've been writing and communicating with the AppSumo audience, so I know what they respond to and what they like. So the way I knew that would sell very well is it was a repositioning. And remember, the course was originally just about how to start a dropshipping business.
Yes.
And I quickly realized, and you realized too, you were like, no one cares about a dropshipping business. Like, AppSumo-lings don't want to start a dropshipping business. No one cares about that. So what we realized was it was a muse business like Tim Ferriss. And from all the experience I had with knowing my audience, I knew they really are big Tim Ferriss fans and fans of creating like a muse business that pays all your bills without doing a lot of work. That's exactly what that business was. So we positioned it as a muse business, and people loved that deal. I still get feedback every day on that thing. It's amazing how much people loved it. And it's because it's from like knowing your audience and just communicating the correct way with them. Like, that's why it was one of the best-selling deals. I'm convinced of it. It was also good, but like still.
I was saying I'd love for this to be the number 1 deal on AppSumo ever.
I hope so.
Good for me.
It'd be cool,
Good for you.
dude. It helps so many people. Remember the copywriting thing we did with Andrew Warner? That thing was just like amazing. Andrew Warner, remember, like the next day, he sent a subject line or some copy he changed, and he was like, oh my god, and he sent us an image that it had a 3x conversion rate over the last one. So he split tested it and got 3 times the response because of what he learned in that 1 hour of interviewing me. I mean, that alone is worth like hundreds of dollars. Nevertheless, like whatever like pittance people are paying on AppSumo. Right?
I think that's a good way to. I mean, for me personally, what I was saying earlier, like what's good for me and is just that like I've started realizing when running a business, and I'm sure a lot of people watching the video are trying to either have their own business or trying to create their own, is looking at things from an ROI perspective. Where it's like if you're going to spend, if it's $100 or $200 on this class, like what's the return you can get on that for your lifetime of improved writing? Like, and if you've ever talked to me, if you've known me for a few years, I always say the same thing. I have the writing of a 3rd grader. Like, I'm a great speaker. I have a very medium vocabulary, maybe low, some would say. 510 SAT, good lord. But luckily I'm okay in math and other things. But working with Neville and practicing my writing, I mean, it's paid off tremendously. Like, my emails get higher responses.
Your blog posts.
The blog posts
go viral every time you put one out now.
I don't know about super viral, but yeah, they definitely get more attention. So, like, as one thing that we did, we're hiring an operations manager, but instead of saying we're hiring an operations manager, I said we're looking for a house mom. And so people were like, what's a house mom? Or like our previous one, we were hiring a sales guy. And a lot of companies, if you look at their job description, which is another thing for writing, where if you want to do writing, you will be at that you should keep it real. Be like, you will be at your desk working for 8 hours a day. It probably won't be fun.
People tweet out your job descriptions. They're saying like, this is the best job description ever. Like, you get so many of those.
Well, I would say like, so that's one of the things from your course, and not your course specifically, just been working with you and learning from you. For our sales guy, I was saying it wasn't come join and be our sales bitch. It was like, hey, come and make $100,000, right? And that's like, what do you mean 100,000? And so that like is the A and the attention and ADA and brings people in. So I mean, there's just so many things for me that I found valuable, and like the $100 or $200, whatever it is, how much can that pay off? And so that's what I would encourage people to think about if they're, if it is a lot of money for them.
It's really one of those things that like this like whatever hour, 2-3 hours, whatever it'll take you to get through this course.
How long is it?
It doesn't even matter how long. I think it's about total maybe 3 hours. You could probably get through the entire thing. And then there's like a last video, I don't know, 4 hours total maximum. But you can always go back to certain parts. So a lot of people will get confused and think like, oh, I'm writing this for a really expensive product. What should I do? And there's a thing about short copy versus long copy there. You can go and revisit that. I mean, this course, for what you're paying, will literally, I can't even explain the ROI for some industries. If you're in a financial industry or selling a product online and you just increase your conversion rate by 1% on your website because of something you wrote, Do you understand like what a 1% conversion rate can do? I mean, most e-commerce sites have 1% or lower total conversion rates. If you increase it by 1% by just explaining stuff better, it almost sounds cheesy, but you've doubled your profits. Like that's.
I wish I had cheese to like throw up. Be like, oh, cheese, or something like that.
But it's true.
Do you give templates?
Yes, I'm giving the exact template I used to actually write the AppSumo emails.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. No competitors can buy this. No, that's fine. You just can't have Neville. But you can have all of the way he thinks and does his stuff. And he's
Cool.
single? Single?
Yeah. We'll see. I'll do like Gary Halbert and put out an ad whenever it's time.
You should. Do you have any other questions or thoughts?
No, I'm done. I keep looking at the squirrel over there. So I think that
Squirrel
means it's time to go. Good chatting.
Later, brother.